Hi everyone, welcome to Vinyasa Yoga. My name's Claire. Hopefully you're ready for a little bit of flow tonight. If you are new to doing Vinyasa with me and with Third Space, drop me a little line, drop me an emoji, let me know. And if you've been here before, let me know as well. And if anyone is feeling like they definitely need a particular posture, a particular stretch tonight, drop a little comment, let me know, and I'll see if I can weave it on into tonight's flow. So Vinyasa is a little bit more dynamic than some of the other yoga classes we've been offering. So we're going to be moving with the flow of our breath. We're going to be flowing through lots of different postures. Tonight there's a lot of strengthening stuff in there. A little bit of options to do some arm balances if that's in your practice. If it's not, don't panic. I'll be talking you through it. Also, you don't need to take any weight into the arms. So do let me know if there's something that feels tight. If there's a posture you've been dying to do all week, let me know. Lots of familiar faces popping on and some newbies as well, so welcome. Little neck stretch, lumbar spine, all those things that working from home is getting. Neck, shoulders, back, hips, yeah. Hopefully we should cover most of that. If I don't put it in there, drop me a comment and let me know. If we get halfway through the class and you're like, I still haven't stretched this, and I'll see if I can weave it in. Alright, so happy Monday everybody. So for tonight's class you basically just need a mat, and if you have yoga bricks they're really helpful to have around. If you don't have bricks you can always use a hardback book, they work pretty well, or just anything you've got around just to give your hands a little bit of support for when you're balancing. Obviously I'm not there with you tonight, so please do make sure you're looking after your body. If something doesn't feel right, listen to what your body's telling you, back away from it. As I said, we're going to be doing a little bit of strengthening stuff. We're going to be doing options for some arm balances. If it doesn't feel right for you to take the weight into your hands, please don't feel pressured to do so. And if anyone needs to take a break at any point, feel free to come down into a child's pose. Big toes touch, knees wide, and hands go straight out in front. Pregnancy adaptations. Yes, I can definitely give you some adaptations. Again, just make sure you're looking after your own body. If it doesn't feel good, that's a sign, don't push it. All right, we're going to start. So we're going to come to a seated position. I'm going to start with a little seated meditation. So for you, you might like to be cross-legged, you might like to be sat on a brick, you might like your legs out in front, you might be kneeling. Just finding a place where you can be sat relaxed through the hips, through the legs. Take a deep inhale through the nose, sigh out through the mouth. Close the eyes, close the mouth. Allow your breath to come in and out through the nose. So just take a moment to be still. To just shake off the rest of your day. Notice how the body is feeling, and just bring your attention to anywhere that feels a little bit tight within the body, a little bit tense. And first of all, see if you can let go of any of that tension. And then you might start to visualize the breath going to those areas. So as you inhale, you might think of light or heat going to all those areas that aren't quite feeling 100%. As you exhale, just feeling them release and relax a tiny bit more. Just starting to slow down the breath. Calming the breath, calming the mind, and in turn calming the body. Just finding stillness in the body, but also that still place inside. And just know this is always here for you, whenever you need. Whenever life's getting a little bit too much, a little bit too fast, you can always come back to that still place within. you might be working with a particular intention for tonight's practice. And that could be something physical that you're working towards. It might be something a little bit deeper that you're trying to let go of. Maybe mental or emotional, energetic. If you're not really sure of your intention, think about dedicating your practice to somebody else. Offer up your energy to someone who needs it more than you do. Whatever you're using as your intention or your focus for tonight's practice, bring it to the front of the mind. Take a deep inhale through the nose, sigh it out through the mouth. Drop the chin to the chest, let the head roll from left to right. Start to roll out through the shoulders, wiggle your fingers. When you're ready, blink your eyes open. So we're going to come to a seated cat-cow. You're going to take your hands onto your knees, and as you inhale, you're going to start to send your chest forwards. You're going to start to look up towards the ceiling, and as you exhale, you're going to start to round out through the spine. Drop the chin to the chest, look down to the belly button. And again, inhale, sending the chest forwards, rolling the shoulders away from the ears, extending through the spine. Exhale, rounding out. Just a few more like this. Inhale. Exhale. Just getting a bit more movement through the spine, flexion and extension. Final exhale. Coming back to center. From here, you're going to take an inhale, reach your hands high. And as you exhale, you're going to start to turn towards that right thigh. Now, we're not going for a really big twist here. You're going to take your left hand to the right thigh, and you're going to take the right hand towards your lumbar spine. You're going to start to take a little open twist here. Shoulders engage. Take those circles in the opposite direction. And coming back to neutral. From here, tucking the toes, lift your hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Start to pad out through the feet. Pressing one heel to the floor and then the other. So I mentioned we're going to be having a few options for arm balances throughout tonight's practice. Now I'm just going to stress they are options. You don't have to take any of them. However, we do want to make sure that we've found our chaturanga position in its entirety before we get there. As chaturanga is one of the strongest positions that we need, finding that little shelf to rest our body onto. So from here, you're going to roll forwards to a high plank position and you're going to drop your knees. Now we're going to find the bottom portion of our chaturanga. So for this one, you want to send your knees a little bit further behind you so you can shift your hips in front. We're going to shift the shoulders even further forwards. I'm not keeping them directly above the wrists. They're coming further forwards. And I'm going to exhale and I'm coming halfway down. I'm just going to hold this position as long as I can. And then shift it back through a child's pose and up to your all fours. So I'm coming forwards with those shoulders. I exhale, I come halfway down so my elbows are in line with my rib cage. My shoulders are in line with my elbows. And then when I'm done, I press back through child's pose and then come up to all fours. You're just going to take 3 more in your own time. So try and hug those elbows in towards the rib cage at the same time that you're sliding your shoulder blades down your back. So it's this bottom part of the chaturanga where we tend to get a little bit weaker because we start to feel it through the fronts of the shoulders and the wrists. But it's also the bit that's going to help us the most when it comes to arm balances. From here, just roll the wrists out when you're done, releasing that tension. And then tuck the toes, lift back up into downward facing dog. Have a little walk off through the feet. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Side out through the mouth. And then from here, you're going to start to walk your feet forwards towards your hands. You're going to take your feet about hip width apart. Bend your knees so you can rest your torso down towards your thighs. You're going to grab onto opposite elbow and take a little sway from side to side. Now if you're pregnant, this might not feel completely comfortable, so you might want to come up a little higher. Forearms coming onto the thighs, you're going to shift your hips side to side. Drop your head and allow the head to sway from side to side as well. One more breath. Everyone's going to release the arms, soften the knees, roll it all the way through the spine. Head's the last thing to come up. You can come stand at the front of the mat, finding Tadasana, mountain pose. So big toes touch, heels are slightly apart, lift your toes up and spread them wide. Roll the shoulders up, back and down, reach the fingers to the floor, you're going to close your eyes. So we're spreading the feet wide on the ground, creating a strong and stable base for our mountain pose. So as you feel yourself root down into your mat and into the floor, feel some energy then come up through the legs. So we lift the kneecaps and engage through the thighs. You feel a lift at the base of your pelvis, almost like a hammock, lifting from the base of the pelvis up towards the belly button. Think about dropping your tailbone down towards the floor like there's a weight attached to it, so you feel length come into the lower back. Lift up and in just below your belly button. And imagine someone has their hands on your waist, they're giving you a gentle squeeze. It's just feeling these 2 areas of support within the core. These are what we call your bandhas. Mula bandha at the base of the pelvis, Uddiyana bandha just below the belly button. Take a deep inhale through the nose. As you sigh out through the mouth, soften through the chest. And again, deep inhale through the nose. Sigh out through the mouth. Close the mouth, keep that sensation in the throat as you take the breath through the nose, but Ujjayi breath. So you've got that constriction in the throat, your tongue is touching the roof of the mouth, and you're making a hissing noise in the throat. So Ujjayi breath is strong, it's powerful, and it helps to keep you grounded into the present moment. Your mind is inevitably going to wander, but when you notice that's happened, bring your focus back to this breath, the sound and the sensation, and allow it to bring you back to the present. Blink the eyes open, we're coming into Sun Salutation A. Inhale, sweep the hands high, look to the thumbs. Exhale, soften the knees and fold forwards, Uttanasana. Inhale, look forwards, lengthen the spine, halfway lift. Hands down, stepping back to high plank. Everyone's going to drop the knees and exhale, lowering the chest to the floor, half chaturanga. Inhale, lift head and shoulders, baby cobra. Exhale, shift the hips back, tuck the toes, lift up, downward facing dog. So just take a few moments here and find the down dog position that works for you. So some of it is from a high plank position or from our cobra. We'll feel that we need to move our hands and feet, and that's okay. Everyone's going to have a slightly different route into down dog. We're looking to make an equilateral triangle shape with the body, but like me, right now you might have bent knees. Just to give the hamstrings a little bit more time to warm up before you start to really put the stretch into the legs. Press the floor away with the hands to shift the pelvis higher, and that will just give you a little bit more space to send the chest closer to the thighs so we find that equilateral triangle shape. Lift the heels, bend the knees, look forwards, take a full exhale and step the feet between the hands. Inhale, bring the hands to the shins, look forwards, lengthen the spine. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep the hands high, look to the thumbs. Exhale, press the hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Inhale, sweep high. Exhale, soften knees, fold forwards, Uttanasana. Inhale, look forwards, lengthen the spine. Hands down, step it back to high plank. Now you can always drop the knees here, or just like before, we're going to shift forwards, send the shoulders in front, exhale, halfway down. Roll over the toes, lift the thighs, inhale to your up dog, and exhale, send those hips up and back, downward facing dog. Now if the legs are feeling a little bit warmer, you might start to straighten the legs and send the heels to the floor. But what we want to avoid is the shoulders pressing forwards and the spine rounding out. So if this does happen, just rebend the knees, press through the hands to send the hips up, and then you can lengthen out through the spine one more time. If, however, you're feeling pretty comfortable here, try to make sure you're not overdoing it with the back. We want to keep a long line. We want to feel strong through the upper body and the shoulders. Lift the heels, bend the knees, look forwards, take a full exhale, step the feet in between the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep the hands high, look to the thumbs. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, sweep high. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands down, step or maybe jump back. Exhale in chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog, holding it here. Draw your attention back to your bandhas. Can you still feel those 2 points of lift and strength through the core? Base of the pelvis, drawing up towards the belly button and then lifting up and in below that belly button. 2 more breaths here. We're going to take it into 2 rounds of Sun Salutation B. This is where it starts to get a bit speedy. So just stay with your breath. Lift the heels, bend the knees, look forwards, we'll exhale, step or maybe jump between the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep the hands high, look to the thumbs. Exhale, hands to heart center. Bend the knees, dip the hips, lift the arms, Utkatasana, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands down, step or maybe jump back, exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right leg lifts high, look forward, step between the hands, lower your back heel. Inhale, arms up, warrior 1. Hands down, step back, exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Left leg lifts high, look forward, step between the hands, lower the back heel. Inhale, arms up, warrior 1. Hands down, step back, exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Just take a few breaths here. Center yourself, slow the breath. Now for our second round, if you're pretty comfortable with Sun Salutation B, you can start to add in a 3-limb chaturanga. So the leg that's in front for your warrior 1, you're going to sweep it all the way up and back and keep it lifted until you reach up dog. From here, lift the heels, bend the knees, look forwards, full exhale, step or jump between the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Bend the knees, dip the hips, lift the arms, Utkatasana. Exhale, straight down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands down, step or jump back, exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right leg lifts high, look forward, step between the hands, lower your back heel. Inhale, arms up, warrior one. Hands down, step or sweep that right leg back. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Left leg lifts high, look forward, step between the hands, lower the back heel. Inhale, arms up, warrior one. Hands down, step or sweep left leg back. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now you've got an option to stay here in down dog, or you can drop the knees, take a child's pose. If you want to build a little bit more strength through the arms, we're going to take turbo dog. So you're going to bend the elbows. The elbows are going to shoot straight out to the sides of the mat. Then you're going to hug them in towards each other as if you've got magnets on the inside of your elbows. And you're going to feel a lot of pressure coming through the shoulders and the arms. So front on, you bend the arms, and then you draw those elbows in towards each other. So the arms are bent quite a long way and the forearms are hovering just above the mat. 2 more breaths wherever you are. Staying with that Ujjayi breath, strong warrior breath. Everyone's going to press back into downward facing dog. From here, we lift the heels, bend the knees, look forwards for exhale, step or jump between the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep the hands high, look to the thumbs. Exhale, press your hands to heart center. So from your Tadasana, you're going to step your feet about hip width apart. We're coming into awkward pose. So to begin, you're going to inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, lower down, palms face the floor. Inhale, reach up, rise up onto the toes. Exhale, lower down, be strong in the ankles. Inhale, rising up. Exhale, lower. This time we stay up. Inhale. Now you want to keep your shoulders stacking above your hips, but you're going to bend your knees. You can imagine there's a wall behind you that you're just sliding the back down. Try and stay strong in the ankles, move super slow. When you reach the bottom, try not to sit down onto the heels, but keep a little lift at the base of the pelvis. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, press down through the toes, strong through the thighs, lifting all the way up, and we release. Just shake the legs out. We're going to take that one more time. Inhale, reach the arms forwards, rise up onto the toes. This time, move as slowly as you can. Bending the knees, keeping the shoulders directly above the hips. So what tends to happen is we get this one. Instead, imagine you've got that wall. Keep a little lift at the base of the pelvis so we're not sitting all the way down. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, press through the toes. Feel the thighs work as you lift all the way up and relax the legs. From here, bring the feet back together. We're coming back into our chair pose. Bend the knees, dip the hips, lift the arms, chair. So we've got a couple of different options coming up. First of all, if you just want to work with strength in your traditional chair, you're going to stay here. And if you're pregnant, you're going to stay here. If you want to work a little bit more through the torso, you're going to bring your hands down to prayer at heart center. You're going to take an inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, you're going to rotate to the right. Outside edge of left elbow comes to outside edge of right knee. Press through the palms to rotate through the chest. And look up over the right shoulder. Now you don't want the left knee to pop forwards. So draw your left hip back in space. And that will bring the knees into alignment. If from your twisted chair, you're working with side crow, this is your first option for an arm balance. You might reach the hands down to the floor, coming up onto the toes, dropping the hips. Hug those elbows in, and you want to glue your left elbow to the outside edge of your right knee. And then you might take your right elbow to the right hip if you're a little bit newer. If you've been here before, you might be just balancing on that left elbow. Having a little play, just 2 more breaths wherever you are. Wherever you are, you're going to come back to your traditional chair. You're going to look down. You're going to shift the weight into your right foot. You're going to squeeze your knees together. You're going to send your left leg far behind you. Bend a little bit further on that right leg, and then left hand comes to the floor. You're into your twisted low lunge. Adjust your feet if you need. So pressing down through left hand so we can open up through the torso and reach that right hand high. One more deep breath. Now really firm up through that left hand and through the left toes. You're going to lift your hips slightly and you're going to step that right foot back to meet the left side plank. Option to stay here. Option to maybe lift that right leg high. Or if you just want to drop that left knee, you always have got that option. One more breath. If you have dropped the knee, you're going to meet us in side plank for just a moment. We're going to step the right foot behind us. Then you're going to lift your hips, right ball of the foot on the floor, right hand reaches forwards. You're into wild thing. One more breath. Looking down, rotating it into a downward facing dog. Option for a vinyasa here, or just hold the down dog, or maybe take a cheeky little child's pose. From your down dog, you're going to lift the heels, bend the knees, look forwards for exhale, step or jump between the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Bend the knees, dip the hips, lift the arms, Utkatasana. Okay, so if you were in your traditional chair last time, you're going to come to a half chair this time. So we shift the hips backwards as chest comes parallel to the floor. And you're going to stay here or maybe rise up onto the toes. If you're coming into the twist, hands come to prayer. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, rotate to the left. Outside of right elbow to outside of left knee. Press the palms together, look up over left shoulder. And we're drawing that right hip back this time to keep the knees in alignment. If you're coming into side crow here, you're going to reach your hands towards the floor, drop the hips, come onto the toes. Right elbow comes into the outside the left knee. Ideally, all the weight's through that right elbow, but if we need to have the left one in as well, that goes to the left hip. Shift the weight forwards towards the head, then you can start to tip the weight into the hands. So again, you can have the weight through both elbows, but ideally, just do that right one. 2 more breaths wherever you are. From here, we're all going to meet into our chair, hands are in prayer. You're going to shift the weight into your left foot, squeeze your knees together, shoot that right foot behind you, bend your left leg, reach, 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 then drop the right hand, lift the left. So again, just adjust your feet if you need to here, but that back leg wants to be straight. I want to be pressing through the right hand to find the twist through the torso. So just notice what's going on with the shoulder here. So try not to pay attention to your left hand, but think about your left shoulder. The shoulder is the easiest way to see where you're twisting. So if your shoulder is a little bit further in front of your right, but your hand is going behind you, you're getting a pretty good bicep stretch here, but we're not getting much rotational aspect through the spine. So think about moving the left side of the chest backwards, and that should stack left shoulder above right. We want to keep this alignment through the upper body, so really press down through that right hand, roll to the outside edge of your right foot, lift your hips, step left foot to meet for side plank, Vashisthasana. Lift your hips, don't let them drop down. Again, you've got the option to lift that leg high. 1 more breath. From here, just step the left foot behind the right leg, ball the foot on the floor, then press the hips up to the ceiling. You're coming into wild thing. Left arm is reaching forwards. Little bit of a back bend, lots of hip extension. 1 more breath. Looking down, stepping into vinyasa, down dog, or your child's pose. Slowing down the breath if it started to speed up. Starting to breathe again if you forgot to breathe. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Sigh it out through the mouth. Lift the heels, bend the knees, look forwards for exhale. Step or jump between the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep the hands high, look to the thumbs. Exhale, press the hands to heart center. So we're going to take a little bit of a balance now. So coming into tree pose, Vrikshasana. You want to root down through your left foot and right foot. You're either going to bring to ball the foot on the floor and then heel to the ankle. Maybe sole the foot to the inside of the shin, or maybe it's coming all the way up to the inside of the thigh. Just try and avoid the knee joint, you don't want to press directly onto it. From here, you're going to press your foot into your leg and then your leg into your foot, and that should help you keep your balance. Hands are in prayer. Fix your gaze at something just above your eye line. Come back to your breath. Find that still place within. So tree pose can be one of the most telling postures of our yoga practice. We're simply just balancing on one leg. It should be simple, but it isn't always. If we've lost our breath, then the body will start to tense, making it harder to balance. If we're not engaging any of our muscles, our body will be wobbly and limp and we'll fall over. Just finding that balance of tension and relaxation, of finding our focus. We're not gripping it so tightly. Final breath. From here, you're going to release that right foot. You're going to take the ankle across the left knee. So we're coming into a half chair with a hip stretch. You're going to send your hips backwards, and you might stay here. This might be enough. You might start to reach your hands down to the floor. If you can't quite reach the floor, this is where bricks can come in handy. So you can just place them underneath the hands, and then you can get that hip stretch but not feel like you're gonna wobble. If you're coming into flying pigeon, now is your time to shine. You're gonna bring your hands down to the floor. Just like in Chaturanga, we're hugging those elbows in towards each other. And you're gonna start to wrap your right toes around your left upper arm. Now we wanna get the shin really pressing into the upper arms. Shift the weight forwards. Can you lift that back leg? Can you extend it? Finding that balancing point, and don't worry if you fall over. It's not that far to fall, and you will always catch yourself. Even if you're just playing with taking the weight into the hands, that's all good. One more breath. Everyone's going to meet with their hands in prayer into the hip stretch, and you're going to lightly release that right foot. You're going to see if you can shift it back as you place the hands down, step straight into downward facing dog. Maybe you're going to take a vinyasa. So now you know how smoothly that went on this side. You've got the availability and the opportunity to see if you can do it a tiny bit smoother on the second side. So from here, lift the heels, bend the knees, look forwards for exhale, step or jump between the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sweep the hands high, look to the thumbs. Exhale, hands to heart center. So tree pose, second side. Again, you've got those options. Heel to the ankle, sole of the foot to the inside of the shin, or sole of the foot to the inside of the thigh. Again, find pressure between the foot and the leg and the foot, and that resistance will help you to stay balanced. Hands come to prayer. Again, fix your gaze. If tree feels super simple for you, try closing your eyes. Just notice how the proprioception changes, how your foot maybe starts to wobble a little bit more. Again, come back to your breath. Have you still got that slow Ujjayi breath? Are you still finding connection to the bandhas? Mula Bandha, base the pelvis. Uddiyana Bandha, abdominal lock. One more breath. From here, we're going to lightly release that left foot. You're going to cross it over the right knee. You're going to send your hips backwards. It's going to feel a bit like a chair pose. And you've got the option to stay here, just looking forwards towards the floor. Again, maybe we're dropping the hands down to the floor or either to bricks. Or if you're coming into flying pigeon, hands come down to the floor, and you want to wrap your left toes around your upper right arm, and you're going to get your shin pressing into the upper arms. Really grip the toes around the upper arm. Shift the weight forwards. You want to think about tipping into your head. So you won't fall on the head, I promise. Just see how you go. We've got some wobbly trees out there. All right, one more breath. Everybody's going to meet back with hands in prayer. Finding that hip stretch. Releasing that left leg, shoot it backwards, hands come to the floor, step into vinyasa, down dog, maybe taking a little child's pose if you need. Everyone's going to meet into downward facing dog. So we had a request for pigeon earlier. Your wish is my command. You're going to take an inhale, lift your right leg high. Exhale, squeeze the knee towards the chest. Turn the leg out, right knee coming to the right wrist. Send your left leg behind you. So we're looking to feel a stretch through the glutes here. So just test to see what you can feel while you're upright. If you're feeling a lot of pressure through the right knee, I'd recommend just shifting it into the middle of the mat. We can come into D, which I'll show you in just a second. From here, start to reach your hands forwards and slowly release the torso down over that front leg. So if your knee's not feeling great, that right knee wants to come in towards the middle of the mat, and that should release the pressure. But if it doesn't, don't worry. You're just going to bend both knees, shift the weight into your right leg, and then you can start to lean forwards over the right leg. So you don't want to be centered, you want to have the weight down through right side of the pelvis. Take one more breath wherever you are. Then from here, you're going to roll up to seated. You're going to shift onto the right side of the pelvis, and you're going to send your legs out into a V shape. We're coming into Upavishta Konasana. So you should be feeling a stretch down the inside of the thighs and down the backs of the legs in this one. But first thing we need to do is make sure we're sat upright. So if you find that you round out in this one, and you really struggle to lean forwards, take a brick or a cushion, something to just lift the pelvis a little higher. And then you should be able to wriggle forwards, and then you should manage to send your shoulders in front. If that doesn't work as well, that's all right, you can bend the knees, and then that should give you a bit more space. From here, we're just going to send the hands out in front. Take an inhale, lift and lengthen, exhale, start to walk forwards. You might be coming all the way down to the mat. You might be a little bit higher. Again, as long as you feel that stretch down the inside of the thighs and down the backs of the legs, you know you're in the right place. As much as possible, we're finding a long spine. So if when you lean forwards, you round out, come up a little bit higher, think about sending the chest forwards. So lead with your chest. The reason for this is it brings the spine into extension, and it starts to tilt through the hips, and we get that stretch then down the backs of the legs. Don't worry too much about what your feet are doing. You can relax them. See if that helps you to go a bit further forwards. See if it helps if you point your feet, if you flex your feet. Again, it's going to be slightly different for each one of us. One more breath. And rolling up to center. From here, you're taking your right foot and you're bringing it to the inside of your left thigh. So you don't need to change the angle of your legs. Then left hand is going to come down the left leg. Right hand is coming up and over the top. Parivrtta Janushirshasana. So you want to look up underneath the right arm. If you feel like your torso is coming forwards, come up a little higher. Imagine you're in between two panes of glass and then start to reach. As much as possible, think about gluing the right side of your pelvis down to the floor. It's not about trying to grab your foot. If you can, that's great, but it's not the be-all and end-all of this posture. Instead, you want to find a stretch through the right side of the torso. If we anchor the pelvis down, then reach away from it, we'll get more of a stretch. If you are coming a little lower and you can grab a hold of the foot, once you have it, then really work to send the chest to face up to the ceiling, and you'll get a deeper stretch further still. One more breath here. From here, rolling up to center. You're just going to hug the knees into the chest. And then you're going to cross the ankles, plant the hands down, step or maybe jump back into a vinyasa or a down dog. I'm going to set up for second side. Alright, from down dog, take an inhale, lift your left leg high. Exhale, squeeze your knee to the chest, turn the leg out. Left knee comes all the way out to left side of the mat. Right leg goes backwards. And wiggle your front foot as far forward as feels comfortable. So again, just test out what you feel. You want to feel a glute stretch. You don't want to feel anything in that front knee. So adjust that leg on the front if you need to. If not, just start to lean forwards, drop the head. So again, If you need to adjust it, that left knee can come into the center of the mat, or you can bend both knees and shift into the left side of the pelvis for deer pose, and then just relax forwards. Just taking a few more breaths here, really releasing the weight of your body down to the floor. And then from here, coming all the way up to center. You're going to shift the weight into your left hip, and you're going to straighten both legs out, so you should automatically come into a straddle. Again, take any modifications you need, whether that's sitting onto a brick or bending the knees. This time you've got the option to just send the hands forwards, or you can send them down the legs. Now this is quite helpful because we can press against the legs to then send the chest forwards. So if you're struggling with rounding the back, this one's quite good. If you want to grab the toes, you can take a peace finger grip, so that's index, middle finger, glue them together. Send them in between the gap of the big toe and second toe. Inhale to lift and lengthen, exhale, start to fold forwards. So again, you're looking for that stretch down the inside of the thighs and down the backs of the legs. Just a few more breaths here. And just notice where you've gone mentally. So quite a lot of the time in this posture, along with a few others, we tend to beat ourselves up a little bit if we're not going very far. It really doesn't matter how low you go. Just assess what you're feeling in your body. As long as you can feel the stretch, then you're in the right place. It may feel like there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow if you can get your chest all the way down to the ground, but I promise you, as long as you're feeling sensation, you're in the perfect place. And we're going to roll up to center. From here, you're bending that left knee. Solar foot's coming to the inside of the thigh. Again, before you go anywhere, root down through the pelvis, especially that left hip. Send your right hand down your right leg, left arm comes up and over the top, and again just move to the place where you can feel the stretch. Once you're there, look up underneath the left arm and start to move with your breath. So inhale, can you lengthen left side of the torso? Exhale, maybe that allows you to move a little deeper or just to soften where you are. Just a few more breaths here. Again, if you are grabbing onto the foot, try not to let the torso roll down. Think about spinning the centre of the chest up towards the ceiling. You'll get more of a stretch. Final breath. Rolling all the way up to centre. Bending both knees into the chest, giving them a little hug, a little squeeze, maybe rounding out the back. And then crossing the ankles, stepping or jumping back into a vinyasa or downward facing dog. Nearly there, guys. All right, from your down dog, you can take a little lift through the heels, bend the knees, look forward, step or jump to the seated position at the front of the mat. We're just going to take a little boat pose just to fire up the core before back bends. To draw the knees together, ankles together, lift the chest, make sure your shins are parallel to the ceiling, lift your elbows. This is option 1. Option 2, you can release your hands. Option 3, maybe straighten the legs. Option 4, you might lift those arms up above your head. Wherever we are, we really want to find a V shape through the body. So feel free to take your arms down, maybe bring them back to the knees if you feel like you're rounding out away. One more breath. We're not dropping the feet just yet though, don't get too excited. You're going to send your hands towards your heels and you're going to start to send the feet out to come into a V shape. Now you don't have to straighten the legs. If you can, go for it. If you're not quite there, just keep a bend in the knees and lift your chest. What you're likely to find is that you might roll backwards. This pose is a 3% core, a 3% balance, and a 3% pure luck. So You want to think about lifting the chest, engaging through the bandhas. And if you have got straight legs, can you release your hands and keep the legs there? So you feel a little bit of engagement through the hip flexors. For 3, for 2, and 1. Release those feet down, coming onto the back. We've got our back bends. So we're going to start with bridge pose. We've got 2 rounds of back bend tonight. Feet are going to go about hip width apart. You remember to tickle your heels, your fingertips. Backs the hands on the floor to begin. Take an inhale, press through the feet, lift your hips high. If you have bricks, you've got the option to come into a restorative variation by sliding the brick underneath the pelvis widthways to support the sacrum. If, however, you're taking the active variation, you're going to think about rolling your shoulders underneath you, interlace the fingers, press them into the floor and lift those hips high. Think about pressing the back of the head down into the floor, so you create a little space for the neck so it's not being pressed down into the mat. You want to keep that natural curve through the spine. One more breath. Gently releasing your hands, release the shoulders and rolling down through the spine. Take your feet a little wider, drop the knees into touch and windscreen wiper through the knees. So, second round of back bend. You've got the option to stay with bridge if that's where you're comfortable tonight. If you're coming a bit further, you might come into wheel. If you know where you're going with wheel, you can start with your hands straight on the floor. So come up and over the tops of the shoulders, fingers point back, hug those elbows in towards the forehead, and then you're going to press up. If you're newer to wheel, however, come up through bridge, lift your hips, then hands go up and over the tops of the shoulders. So then you just have to lift the upper body off the floor. So come out, chin tucks the chest, back of the head to the mat, and then you release down. So coming into the back bend of your choice, you've got 5 long breaths. So pressing through the hands and feet if you're coming into wheel, and if you're in bridge, you're going to lift those hips super high. If you want to challenge yourself one step further in your bridge pose, you might start to lift a leg. Three more breaths. If you're in wheel, you might start to shift the weight in towards the hands and then release. Just starting to open up a bit more into the shoulders. Final breath. Remember, if you're coming out of wheel, chin tucks into the chest, back of the head to the floor first. Everyone's going to release down through the spine. You're going to take the feet a little wider, drop the knees into touch, and windscreen wiper through the knees to release the lower back. If it feels good, you're going to hug those knees into the chest. You're going to make a little ball, draw the knees towards the forehead towards the knees. And then releasing down onto the back. So we're coming into our options for inversion. If you're done, you don't want to take any inversion, that's fine. However, you've got the option to take a brick underneath the pelvis or just lift the legs up as they are. But you want to stack the heels above the hips, coming into Viparita Karani. If you're coming into shoulder stand, you're going to press the hands down into the floor, draw the knees towards the forehead, hands come to the lower back and reach the feet up towards the ceiling. See if you can get your hands down towards your shoulder blades. And you want to try and stack your feet above your hips above your shoulders. So think about pressing the pelvis forwards towards your face. Trying to keep the breath steady. If you're in a full shoulder stand, you're going to start to lower the toes down over the top of the head. Come into plow pose, Halasana. If the toes touch the floor, then you can release your hands. If not, keep them on the back for support. And you might also bend the knees towards the forehead. If you are releasing the hands, you might interlace the fingers and press them down into the floor. We might be bending the knees, so coming either side of the temples, and the hands might come up and over the top of the calves. Just finding the variation that feels best for you. And from here, slowly releasing down, using the hands as brakes. Coming down to lie onto the back, we're going to take fish as our counter pose. So you're going to take your hands underneath the pelvis and extend the legs out long. You're going to press through the forearms to lift your chest, lifting the upper body, and then drop the crown of the head backwards. And then from here, releasing down onto the back, finding your way into Shavasana. So coming into your final resting pose. Allowing the body to drop down to the mat. Becoming heavy, letting go of any control of the breath. Letting go of any residual tension in the body. And just checking in with the mind. How are you feeling now in comparison to the beginning of your practice? Hopefully a little bit calmer. Hopefully a little bit more grounded. Hopefully you found a bit more focus. Start to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes. Stretch the arms overhead, full body stretch. And then draw the knees in towards the chest and take a little rock and roll from side to side. When you're ready, rolling to the right side. Pushing up to a comfortable seated position, keeping your eyes closed. Once you're seated, bring the hands to prayer in heart center. Take an inhale, lengthen through the spine, and exhale, bow your head down towards the prayer. Just take a moment to be grateful for your practice. Grateful to be able to move, to breathe. And then come back to your intention, or whoever you are dedicating your practice to tonight. Take the thumbs to space between the eyebrows, the third eye. Practice and all is coming. Namaste. Thank you guys, thank you for joining me tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, take a zenned out selfie, or maybe sweaty selfie, who knows. Tag Third Space, tag me in it, and I will repost it. I'd love to see how you guys are getting on out there. I saw a couple of requests for the playlist. I'll post it on my stories, so have a little look on my page and I will post a link to it there so you can find it. I'm back here tomorrow night, 6 p.m. for Yin Yoga, so hopefully I will see you then. If not, have a wonderful rest of your evening. See you soon, guys.